As we like to say, our customers are real pigs, and they like to eat a lot of soybeans, and that's what we like. And it's about the equivalent, it works out to be about 17% of overall soybean meal demand is coming from the pork sector.
Hi, I'm Brownfield Ag reporter Brent Barnett, and thanks for joining us for another edition of the Soybean Bulletin, a content partnership with the Iowa Soybean Association. On this month's episode, we're discussing soy rations and commercial hog feeds, and joining us from ISA is Grant Kimberley. Grant, thanks for being with us here on the program. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me today.
Tell us more about your background with Iowa Soybean Association as we get underway here, and just some of the work that you do.
Sure. My role at Iowa Soybean Association is the Senior Director for Market Development. So that means that I am the lead staff person that oversees our demand building programs related to building those markets. Everything from renewable fuels, biofuels like biodiesel, international marketing, exports, bio-based products, value-added initiatives, and then also, of course, working with our livestock partners and growing our demand through livestock.
Speaking of livestock, National Pork Month is a good time to spotlight the soy and pork connection. What does overall soy demand from the pork sector look like right now?
Well, the pork sector is a major important demand driver for the soybean industry and for the soybean farmer. As we like to say, our customers are real pigs, and they like to eat a lot of soybeans, and that's what we like. And it's the second largest livestock sector that utilizes soybean meal. We use approximately 2.5 bushels of soybeans over the life of a 270-pound hog, and it's about the equivalent. It works out to be about 17% of overall soybean meal demand is coming from the pork sector.
So that's what we're discussing there about, hog consumption from start to finish. How much of our domestic soybean meal demand comes from the pork industry?
That number is about 17% of our domestic demand comes from the pork industry. Of course, poultry is the largest livestock sector, but pork is the number 2 sector, and that's very important, especially for a state like Iowa, where pork is our number 1 livestock sector, our number 1 industry, and we are, of course, number 2 soybean producer, but number 1 soybean processor. So it's important to have that strong livestock demand like we have in the pork industry.
Grant, what does international demand for U.S. soybean meal look like, especially, from major pork-producing countries?
Yeah, so, of course, we export a lot of soybeans and soybean meal. We're going to be exporting even more soybean meal in the future because of the growth of the U.S. soy crush industry due to the demand for the oil side for biodiesel and renewable diesel. And so we have to continue to grow our livestock industry here domestically, and then we'll export more overseas. So we export a lot of soybean meal overseas to feed a growing pork industry around the world. We also export a lot of U.S. pork meat and pork out of the U.S. to a lot of countries around the world. So we're exporting soybeans either physically directly through the beans or the meal, or we're going to export through the livestock or the pork sector.
So can you give us some examples, maybe some of the major trading partners on that front?
Yeah, so of course China is a big market for U.S. soy because of their large, gigantic hog industry that they have. But we also have a lot of demand that goes to Latin America and also to Southeast Asia to feed their pork industry. And of course, our pork exports from the U.S. goes to some of those same countries like Southeast Asia and Latin America, and of course Japan and some other Asian markets too. So that's where we're lucky. We have a lot of diverse markets when it comes to the pork export sector.
What do we hear from some of these markets regarding the quality of U.S. soy?
So the quality of U.S. soy is always looked at as the top shelf around the world. The consistency, we have better amino acid profile, so you get better rate of gain, looking at the energy content of U.S. soy, the consistency of the meal that we produce here. The fact that our beans also are a little drier than what you find in South America allows our beans to be processed and stored more efficiently and longer. So that all has benefits to the livestock sector for the pork industry.
When we're talking about the soy-pork connection, how is Chekhov-funded research helping soy stay competitive in this space?
Well, we always are working through the United Soybean Board as the national soybean checkoff organization, and all the state associations like ourselves at Iowa work together to do additional research, and we look at new ways to utilize soybean meal, to find out where we can push the envelope on the ration, what we can replace in some cases of other feed ingredients like synthetic amino acids, and especially when you look at soybean meal prices being a little bit lower like they are now, that becomes even more attractive. So we're constantly looking at ways to improve the pork industry through the feed that we're feeding it. And so we're doing that kind of research at universities and other with other entities and stakeholders around the country.
Looking ahead here, Grant, where do you see the biggest opportunities to grow soy demand through the pork industry?
Domestically, it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge probably to grow the demand for pork here. But there's still possibility to do that. But we think we can grow the pork industry in the United States, and that will help soybean meal demand through pork exports. There's still growing middle-class population around the world who is adding more protein to their diet, who has the culture and the history to eat pork. And places like Southeast Asia, we think there's great golden opportunities, Vietnam in particular. Their economy is growing, so we think there'll be more opportunities to export more soybean and soybean meal there directly, but also more pork from the U.S. and to grow our sector, and other parts of Latin America too. So the future still looks positive, for that opportunity to grow our livestock industry.
As we kind of wind down the program here, Grant, what would you say to the viewers about just the importance of soy for the U.S. pork industry and those pork producers?
Yeah, I mean, soybeans are the perfect feed ingredient, really, that provides pretty much all the essential amino acids that an animal needs, like a hog, and as you're feeding them out, and so we continue to want to grow that, and it's a good, affordable meat opportunity as the middle class grows around the world. So we're going to continue to push ways that we can feed more soybean meal and increase our livestock production and our exports. When it comes to soybean exports through pork, we export over 100 million bushels of soybeans every year through pork. So we walk those soybeans off the farm and into overseas markets via pork exports, and so that's really important, and that equates to about $1.46 per bushel of the price of soybeans through pork exports alone. So those are the opportunities to continue to grow, and we think that there's good potential for that down the road.
A lot of great information here today, Grant, about domestic and international demand for soy. How can our farmer listeners and the viewers stay connected with ISA on these topics?
Yeah, please reach out to us and follow us online at our website at iasoybeans.com. Also, follow us on our social media channels, but reach out to our office anytime, and we'll be happy to talk.
Hey, thanks a lot for joining us here on this month's episode, and we'll look forward to catching up sometime soon.
Thank you very much.
Again, that's Grant Kimberley joining us from the Iowa Soybean Association, and we thank you for joining us here on the Soybean Bulletin, a content partnership with the Iowa Soybean Association. I'm Brent Barnett with Brownfield.